Hey guys, Potato McWhiskey here, and welcome to my sort of first impressions review of the summer 2017 update for Civilization 6. Now, we're going to be just kind of reading through the entire list of the updates and give my thoughts on them and which ones I think are important and which ones I am excited about. So, this comes with a new civilization. This is Nubia. It's a pretty interesting civilization. I forget what the leader's name. It's Amanatora. Yes, I don't know how to properly pronounce that, but their Civ unique ability is plus 50% production towards range units. On its own, that's already a crazy good bonus, but they also get range units to get 50% more experience. Now, I don't know if that's earning 50% more experience or earning 100. Sometimes the wording on this, but they get their promotions quicker. And then, like, as if that's not enough, mines over strategic resources get plus one production. Pretty much in every game of Civ, you're going to get maybe 1, 2 iron, a couple of aluminum, and maybe a bit of uranium and some other couple of things, maybe some coal. So this could add up to be, maybe, 3 to 10 production in an empire, which isn't anything to ignore. But then you throw in even another bonus, which is you get plus 2 gold over luxury resources if you put a mine. This is crazy. This bonus on its own is absolutely absurdly good, especially when you compare it to some of the other civilizations. This bonus alone would make a civilization amazing. But then, like, it gets even more crazy. Her unique ability is the Kandake of Moreau. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that either. It's plus 20% production on all districts, and it goes up to 40% if the city contains a Nubian pyramid adjacent to the city center. Then again, that's another bonkers bonus. It's a really amazing bonus. I'm actually really excited to play this civilization. I don't think I need to really talk about how like crazy good a baseline plus just you get, like, if it takes 5 turns to make a district, you get it in 4 turns. That's just better. It's a really amazing bonus. It's an excellent bonus. I think this civilization is going to be extremely powerful. In fact, I'm probably certain some people might even ban it in multiplayer because they get the Petati Archer, and multiplayer is all about early game aggression. The Petati Archer has higher strength and it has an extra movement, which means it can move 2 tiles and shoot, and it promotes faster and they build it faster. I think it's more expensive than the baseline ranged archer, but it's incredible. It's an incredible early aggression civilization that can transition into a SimCity win. Now it also gets the Nubian Pyramid, which is a really interesting district. It's or sorry, not a district, sorry, improvement. It's a really interesting improvement. It has just plus one faith on it, which could help you get an early Pantheon, maybe. But it also gets extra yields from additional districts. So, for example, plus one food if it's adjacent to a city center. The only thing is that it needs to be built on a desert tile, and that's desert hills, desert, or floodplains. So, if you have a grassland start, you're not going to be able to make advantage of this, but it does make desert cities much more viable. You could have, like, I mean, if you position it correctly, you could probably get plus one food, plus one faith, maybe a gold, and maybe a piece of production, which would be a pretty reasonably good tile to work, especially if you put it on a floodplains, which I think has a baseline of 3 food. So that could be a 4 food tile plus one faith. Yeah, it's just a crazy good improvement. They also, there, I don't think this is unique to Nubia, but there is the Jebel Barkal Wonder, which is unlocked at ironworking. It awards 2 free copies of iron, meaning you don't need encampments to build swordsmen or any unit needing iron. It also gives plus 4 faith to all cities within 6 tiles, so it's pretty damn good, getting you an early religion and even perhaps even going for a fast religious victory with a few settlements. You could also even use this to do some great people purchasing and stuff like that. Maybe there's some strategies that you could work that into. And then there's the Gifts of the Nile scenario. I'm not so excited about this thing. I'm kind of been a bit underwhelmed with some of the scenarios. The Australian one was great, but I didn't like the Alexander one. I'll certainly check this out. But the probably the big change for this one is the adding a restart button to regenerate the map, because I know sometimes when I'm playing on my own, I get really annoyed. I'm like, God, I hate this start, and then I have to go back out to the menu and I have to reload, set up the game. And just being able to hit the restart button would be really nice. There's also the adding the saving of game setup configurations, which is also excellent because I have like a few settings that I just like to use, and I might only change one or two. But every time I want to play a game, I have to go down the list and pick out each one I want to do. So I'm really glad that the game is starting to get some of this quality of life stuff added. Now, I mean, you could make the argument that this should have been in the beginning, but you know, I think the game is definitely on its way to being the best civilization. Whether or not they can make it that way, but I think they're making a good effort to go that direction. There's also general balance changes here that we're going to talk about. Now, the first one I'm actually pretty excited about is the reducing the cost of the aqueducts and the sewers by 50%. I think aqueducts were just like crazy expensive in my opinion, to the point where I would never build one because A, I would never settle cities off fresh water. B, it only gave two housing, two cities on fresh water. C, it was too expensive. So even if I did settle a city off of fresh water, I would often just not build the aqueduct and just maybe hold out on a small population until I got districts. It just didn't feel worth it. But now if it's cheaper, and sewers are also being cheaper, because I think there's actually a point in the game where you can build sewers in neighborhoods, and I think it was like 10 turns to build a sewers and like 6 turns to make a neighborhood. So the price differential there is going to be pretty nice that they're going to fix that up. Hopefully this will make the sewers viable. I would probably say sewers should get like I don't know, maybe they should get like plus one amenity or something. That would really make sewers viable as a building, I think. But as it stands, because like even the granary comes like really early in the game and has plus one food on it, and it gives you plus two housing. So I think like sewers, I think the sewers is closer to being worth building, but I think it needs a little bit more, and maybe an amenity on the sewer would do the trick. Building all districts other than the aqueduct have become cheaper. So if it used to take you 9 or 10 turns, now it takes you 9. So you get a turn off for every 10 turns, which is pretty nice because I felt like districts were a little bit expensive to make. They've also increased the discount for districts that you have less of from 25% to 40%. I'm not exactly sure how this mechanic works. If anyone knows how this discount for districts you have less of works, please let me know, because this is a mechanic I still haven't figured out and learned how it works. But basically, if you have like 10 campus districts and, you know, one encampment, you'll get discounts on building encampments. Increase the cost of district buildings by 10%, except for aerodrome buildings, and increase the per settler cost bump by 50%. So basically, you're going to be able to fit less buildings into your build, but if you have a high production city, it'll be able to crank out more districts. I'm not really sure how this is going to affect things. I don't think it's going to be a huge impact. 10%, maybe it'll make a difference. I'm not sure. I'd have to play with this one. This one seems like a pretty subtle one that might affect the game in ways I'm not sure. The increased settler per cost bump is going to be pretty significant. Right now, I think it's pretty much consensus on everyone that just building as many cities as you possibly can is basically the way you want to play, and increasing the per settler cost bump by 50%. So I think if it goes up by 10, it'll go up by 15 now. That'll certainly slow down some empires and maybe make people settle not exactly less, but maybe instead of settling 7 cities, you settle 6, and then wait a bit until you get your production back up in your capital in your cattle in your capital before you settle more cities. Reducing the cost of all spies, I think this is a great move. Spies feel really expensive to the point where it's really hard to justify getting one, because even when you have a spy, it can often be hard to get value out of it, and you feel like you've just kind of wasted that production, especially because spies are so easy to capture and intercept and all that sort of stuff. So I think making them cheaper is going to be a step in the right direction to making spies a little bit more viable. The Hanging Gardens now provides +2 housing in the city it's built. This is good. Hanging Gardens felt a little bit weak. It really felt like you would pretty much build it in your capital, and it would just didn't really do much for you. It didn't do much for the city it was in, right? But now it's going to do a little bit more for that city, which is nice. It's going to be really nice. Walls providing tourism and not having maintenance is actually really probably one of the biggest changes in the patch, I think. This is going to affect tourism runs quite a bit, because oftentimes you have a hard time getting tourism early game, but in the late game you have a really early, or you have a really easy to get tourism. So having the ability to get some tourism in the early game while also providing defensive bonuses, because naturally any sort of cultural victory type that you're going for, you will be kind of defensive anyway. So building walls will be pretty nice. Giving people reasons to build walls is I'm always for. And if it's a tourism sort of win that goes for walls, I'm all I'm 100% on board with this change. I think it's awesome. There's another really nice change that I think here is the battering ram and siege tower now upgrade to the medic support unit and are no longer functional against a city with urban defenses. These are great changes. I think this is going to be really good for multiplayer, particularly the second part, because you could pretty much negate on like a late game city if you just had like a battering ram or a siege tower lying around. So getting that, I would consider this more of a fix than a balance change. But being able to upgrade into the medic support unit is nice too, because it means now that they don't have that late game use, you can turn them into something more useful. Gave St. George an additional charge. I would have to try and remember what St. George's ability is, so maybe we'll come back to that. Updated Monarchy's medieval wall bonus to plus 50% production towards defensive buildings and plus 1 housing for each level of wall. This is actually going to be... I don't think this makes Monarchy viable. I think it makes it situationally appropriate. If you are a culture civ, if you're going for a tourism win, there might be a window here where you switch to monarchy and you slot in the defensive production card. So now you're getting 150% production bonus towards walls. And then you crack out all 3 levels of walls in every city in just a few turns. Bam, bam, bam. Get a nice big bunch of culture right before you enter into stuff like the I think the last walls come in Renaissance. Yeah, the last walls come in Renaissance. So just before you hit Industrial, you could get a big tourism boost, and then I think right after Industrial, you start getting more late game tourism-y stuff that you can play with. So this could be really nice combined with the wall tourism and the card that gives you wall production. This could be really nice for tourism slinging if you can pull it off, if you can execute it. So I'm really interested in this. I don't think it makes it viable in a general sense, but I think it does create a new potential for that kind of strategy. The Proselytizer Apostle promotion only evicts 75% of the existing pressure from other religions, not 100%. This is a pretty big change. If you were doing any sort of religious victory and you got the city-state that allowed you to pick whichever promotions, I think there's a city-state that does that, and I think there's a wonder that does that. If you got either of those, you could pretty much win the game in like a few turns. I think I have a playthrough where I abused this. So this is going to be really nice. It's going to maybe tone that down and make it a little bit harder to win a religious victory. Religious victory still has a lot wrong with it, but this is one of the things that made it really easy to win. Press gangs will now unlock with exploration and native conquest with colonialism. I have to try and remember what press gangs is. I think this might be something to do with naval production. And native conquest, I don't remember what this is either. I'm pretty sure if I don't recognize the names of the cards, it's because they're probably so terrible that no one uses them. Increased anti-air strength values by 5 across the board. This is probably more of a multiplayer aimed change. Shooting down planes felt really kind of hard in multiplayer, so hopefully this will fix things up. And the destroyer AA strength going up as well is really nice. The balance change to Archer with the cost plus 10 and the Marianu Chariot Archer cost minus 20, combat plus 2 and range strength plus 2. I think Archers did feel a little bit too efficient for what you invested in them and what you could get out of them. So I'm pretty glad there is at least a minor change happening here. We'll see how this plays out. I do think, because Archers really do feel like they're the king of the early game. Archers and Horsemen feel like they're the king of the early game aggression, particularly in multiplayer. So maybe this will probably just have the unintended consequence of making Horsemen even more popular, which, might make Spearmen popular, although Spearmen don't really feel very good against Horsemen anyway. Increase the cost to repair city outer defenses. I don't think this is a major change, really. Although it did, a lot of the time you could, like, if you managed to save a city, you could just repair the outer defenses in like 1, maybe 3 turns at most. So maybe increasing this cost will have a window of vulnerability. Although if you're in a situation where you can repair the city outer defenses, I don't think you need to do it, because at that point you've probably pushed back the attack. So I'm not really sure if this is going to have any impact on the game. Moved urban defenses from civil engineering to steel, so now it's in the tech tree. This, I'm not really sure how I feel about this. Steel is a bit of an undervalued tech, I feel, because it has the Eiffel Tower and a couple of other things I can't remember off the top of my head. But now I think with the urban defense thing, people might go for it a little bit earlier, particularly if they're worried about aggression. Um, Civ leader and specific balance changes. This is actually really big for me. I have been not talking about this a lot, but Norway, since pretty much launch, have been, in my opinion, basically the most garbage civilization in the game. So Thunderbolt of the North giving plus 50% production towards naval melee units, it's a step in the right direction. They're not quite, I still don't quite think they're viable, but they're getting there, you know, they're pushing them into that sort of, this Civ is starting to feel fun, it's starting to feel interesting to play. And I think the Stave Church change as well, which gives you plus one production for all coastal resources in the city. I still think religion in general is really hard to justify, so now you have to be coastal and want to have a religion for some reason and not want to get something else. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This seems like it would really situationally, maybe on an island map or something like that. But nobody really plays island maps in multiplayer, at least. So situationally cool. I think they realize that Norway feels really weak, so they're trying out stuff which I'm okay with. I don't think this is the changes that Norway needs. I'm not really sure what the changes are that Norway needs, but at least it's something. It's a movement in the right direction. Now on Spain, the Treasure Fleet Civ ability has its gold for intercontinental trade boost from +4 to +6. Spain is another civilization that I feel was really really weak. So I'm glad that they have boosted this a little bit. This is going to help. It's probably not going to help a huge amount because it's quite rare to manage to get a settlement on another continent unless you get very lucky and you spawn your capital on one continent, you know. But additionally, getting the mission to get +1 science to +2 science if it's next to a campus, this could be really useful. If you wanted to do a fairly early science sling, it could get you it would be the equivalent of having like a couple of extra libraries if you got a couple of these out, which isn't anything to sniff at. You know, it's a decent bonus. Particularly if you were going for a religion game as Spain, it could help you keep up on science. Because sometimes I find when I'm doing a religious game, I struggle a little bit on the science portion if I don't rush a campus. So I'm thinking this could. I don't think it'll substitute the need to build campuses because you need one to get it, but I think it will maybe save you from getting so many campuses. Finally, City is getting a major nerf, although even with this major nerf, I'm not even sure if City is really knocked off their top spot. I think City is easily one of the top three most powerful civilizations right now, and this is certainly a blow to their strength. But I don't think 20 heal is really going to cut the mustard. I think there's going to be need to be more done to Scythia to tune them down. They are weaker than they have been before, but I think they're still incredibly strong. The Congo has also been tuned down. Their bonus has been reduced from 100% bonus create people points to 50%. I think this is a reasonable tune down. Congo felt really strong for certain victories. I know I struggled in a couple of my games when I wanted to go for this is versus AI on deity. I wanted to go for a tourism victory, but because the Congo was in the game, they were just making like 20 great rider points per turn when I was only making like 5. So this bonus might help you tune that down and make it a little bit easier to beat them. I think also for multiplayer, it was pretty crazy to like Congo could just go like early encampments and then nobody could beat them to a great general. That's probably still going to be the case, but at least people might have the opportunity to compete later on. Greece getting awarded an envoy whenever they completed an Acropolis. The Acropolis, I think, still has some problems, mainly because it needs to be built on a hill adjacent to the city center to get its full bonus. But having a sort of agnostic bonus attached to it makes it a little bit more worthwhile. Even just to throw down an Acropolis and then never upgrade it or build any buildings in it. Getting the expert envoy could be useful for getting bonuses out for another victory type. So this is a nice buff for Greece. I don't really feel like Greece was really weak, but I think the Acropolis was one of the bits of Greece that felt kind of weak. So hopefully this will be a nice boost for them. And France, Catherine's Flying Squadron now awards a free spy when the extra capacity is earned at castles. This is really good. Getting a free spy is a pretty big deal in my opinion. Because earlier on, spies got reduced in production. So spies are expensive and it's hard to get value out of them. But getting one for free is like just great because now you have something you didn't pay for and that you might get value out of. Now, you're probably not always going to get value out of it, but then they even added all spies start as agents with a free promotion. So now it's like you have a better chance to get value out of your spy. This is a great bonus. I think France was another civilization that I felt was a little bit weak. Hopefully, this will really make them stand out as the espionage civ. They're probably going to need a little more tuning later on, but this seems like a good move for them. Now on the map generation, aluminum now may appear on plains. I think I've only ever seen aluminum like on desert. I don't think I've seen it anywhere else. So this is a good change. Aluminum could be kind of hard to get. And increasing the lake generation, I think lakes felt a little bit rare to me, and hopefully this will make them a little bit more common because I think lakes are always interesting, particularly with the Hui Tekalali or whatever that wonder is. Lakes always felt really small, and getting a one tile wake for Huey just felt like kind of crappy. Updated bonus and strategic sea resource generation. I'm hoping this means a lot of the times you would see like bonus, like you would see coastal resources like in clusters, and then there would be like huge bits of the coastline that just had nothing on it. So I'm hoping this will keep the clustering but add a sprinkle of resources throughout the coastline. That's what I'm hoping for, because you would like sometimes I've seen in some of my games where there's just a cluster of like 7 pearls in the one location, which is craziness. It's completely unnecessary. And fixed river generation on inland sea maps. This is great. Rivers on inland seas were kind of silly and kind of broken and kind of annoying to play with, so I'm glad this is getting fixed. UI enhancements. Combat preview UI has received multiple improvements. I'll have to see this in game. I actually thought the combat preview UI was pretty decent. It was really annoying. There's one thing that's really annoying is sometimes it doesn't. It will show you. It'll look like your unit's going to kill a unit, but it won't. And I'm hoping that this is what this is fixing, because I don't know how many times I've been annoyed by like an AI's knight sitting on a hill, and I shoot it, and it looks like I'm going to kill it, and then it survives on 2 health, and then the turn rolls over, it gets a promotion, runs off, it kills a worker or something, So hopefully this fixes that. The Civilopedia now shows the number of spies and envoys granted by a civic. Okay. Multi-turn unit movement paths shown when the unit is reselected. Oh my goodness. I played some Civilization 4 the other day, and I was like, why isn't this in Civ 6? It was so annoying because it's in Civ 4. But now it's in Civ 6, so this is a great little change, nice little quality of life thing. Really should have been in from the start, but hey, I'm not gonna rag on them too hard. Added relationships tab to city-state intel reports, which displays that city-state at war. Yes. So basically now it's easy to find out which civilizations, city-states are at war. This is great because before you just had to kind of figure out that information based on, you had to look up, all right, who's the suzerain, who's that suzerain at war with, and then kind of like, okay, who is that guy suzerain of, and who is he at war with? And it just got really complicated. So now you just be able to click on them and say, hey, who's going to be kicking your ass? And it's going to be easy to tell. Pop-up box is now used to modify deal item values. This is really cool. If it is what I think it is, before when you clicked on something, you would have to kind of fiddle with this like little window that was attached. But hopefully the pop-up box will fix some of the fiddliness. Added leader dialogue for gifts and demands. Okay. Scenarios no longer display extraneous UI screens. Alrighty. I guess this was for stuff like in the Vikings, Raiders, and Traders scenario. I don't think you really had like Great Works, so you don't need the Great Works button. Reports now displays Great Works, adjacency, and districts information. Ooh, I'm interested in this. I wonder if that's in the report screen where you can see what kind of resources you have and stuff. I'm pretty excited to try that out, because I'm one of those Civilization players who just loves when I can find information about the game that I'm in. Trade route chooser automatically selects previously completed trade route. Holy shit, thank fucking Christ that has been put in. I don't know how many times and how annoyed I've ever been trying to select the same trade route, but I'm just glad that that's in now. Additional improvements to the trade route chooser. This is nice. Anything that improves trade routes. I think trade routes are like, I think the current way they do trade routes in Civilization is like my least favorite way trade routes. Like, I didn't like them in Civ 5. I don't like them in Civ 6. I think they're better in Civ 6. I hated them in Civ Beyond Earth. And they're all sort of similar. But I think Civ 6 is getting closer to something that's okay because at least they build roads. At least I can, but then, I don't know. Improvements to trade routes, I'm not going to complain about them because there's something about the game I don't actually like. Added a turn blocker notification when the city ranged attack is available. Holy crap, how long did this take? What are we, a year from launch and we only just got this? This is great. Again, more improvements to the game. It really just, again, kind of goes back to my point where I feel like the developers, and I've been saying this every patch now, they're really putting in the effort and time to make this the best civilization ever made. And I'm confident in that statement now that I'm reading. With every successive patch that I read, that feeling, that thought gets stronger and stronger as I feel like they're approaching that goal. I don't know how close they are to that goal, but I feel like they're at least moving in that direction, and I feel like they're attempting to make that movement. The tech and civic boosts now additionally appear in the notification panel above the turn advancer. So this looks like sometimes when you were doing a turn, now this is particularly in multiplayer, you would quickly click through all the shit that happened because you wanted to move your units at war. So now this means if you quickly click through all that bullshit, or if you turn off those notifications using, like, for example, CQI, you'll get a little thing up on the right-hand side of the screen over your end turn button that you can take a look at and say, oh, this is the stuff that I got boosts to. So this is really nice. The toggle strategic view key binding has been added. That's pretty nice. I don't really use strategic view, but for people who do, hey, now you don't have to click anything. Diplomacy enhancements, added tooltips explaining why you can or cannot declare each kind of war or undertake another diplomatic action. Great. Any more information that they give you is good in my book. Are you sure you wanted to announce confirmation added? Great. I think maybe even in a couple of my videos I've managed to completely throw away an alliance just by denouncing an ally or something. So this is great. Liberation changes. Liberating cities can now occur even if you got the city in a deal. Peace deals are now the most common case of this. Excellent. I think previously you could trade for a city and you couldn't liberate it, but now that's not. Now it is possible. A case where the Persian player didn't cede or return beside cities on the peace deal has been fixed. I don't know if I ever encountered this weirdness. When you liberate a city, your military units are only kicked back from the first ring of hexes around the city. You aren't ejected from their territory entirely. Holy crap, thank you so much. I don't know how many units have been stuck in lakes and how many units have been stuck in little no man's land islands of territory across all of the Civilization games ever played, but this is going to go a long way to fixing this, and I'm really glad for it. AI tuning improved the AI's ability to move great works around to get theming. Okay, this is good. This is what I was hoping for. Big improvements to the AI. The AI feels really... God, do I even want to beat that dead horse? Look, the AI sucks, okay? And I know they're working on it, and I'm just kind of... I haven't been ragging on them too hard for it, but hopefully these improvements will make the AI a little bit smarter, a little more interesting to play against. So the ability to get them a little more theming. I don't think this was really a big problem for the AI, but I'm not going to complain about improvements. The AI will now better handle air attacks. Jesus, I mean, I don't mean to be that guy, but I feel like the AI didn't even use their air units previous to this. So if they're better handling them, I mean, is multiplying 0 by 2, it's still 0. So I mean, maybe they fixed the AI and air units. Bombers will attack districts, okay, yeah. And fighters will prefer, yeah. Improved the desire to pillage cities, interesting. Improved city planning with regards to adjacency bonuses. Okay, that's good. Hopefully this will improve the AI. During city attacks, concentrated unit attacks on more threatening units rather than spreading out. Okay, this is a big change to the AI. Frequently I would see them split their damage amongst my units, and then I just pull those couple of really hurt units back and then wipe them out. So hopefully this will make the AI a little bit more scary. Fixed a bug in the AI overesting the value of a demand tribute. Okay, so this might mean that you could demand more from them, or they're going to demand more from you. So watch out. Adjust AI acceptance of embassies to be a bit more what they already do for delegations. Okay. It's so annoying. They put in this fix, I think, for the whole delegation and embassy thing, where if the same turn where you meet the AI, you can get the delegate in without them rejecting it. Um, it's so silly. Like, I'll meet an AI, and if I forget to do the delegation or whatever, the next turn they'll be like, "Nah, we don't want your shit. Get out of here." So, eh, the AI diplomacy stuff still needs some work, but hopefully this is a step in the right direction. Specifically, they probably will reject it if they're unfriendly, will accept as neutral. Uh, they have any other reason against a close balance, they will generally accept it as friendly unless they have a strong reason against it. Okay, that's good. In evaluating deals, the AI will mark elements that are unacceptable at any price and expose that to the player. Okay, this is really good because previously when you were trying to get a deal from the AI, you would have to like click stuff off and try and figure out, okay, what is it that's pissing them off that they don't want to do? So letting us know that, again, more information given to the player makes the game more not easier to play, but like it's less tedious and there's less fiddling about, and you get into the game itself. Improve the ability to utilize city states beyond just suzerainty. Okay, so hopefully this means stuff like taking the what is it called when you cap? What is it called when you take control of the AI's unit? Whatever that is called, you do that thing. Hopefully that means stuff like that. Hopefully, actually, what it would mean is that the city states AI would essentially temporarily merge with the AI civilizations AI, so that it would be they would fight together essentially. But we'll see. As a player approaches victory, AI will become less friendly and more aggressive. This is good. The I think some people will not like this. Some people will not like this, but I think this is generally speaking good for the game. I think it's important to remember that Civilization, the AI isn't mimicking. It's not like in Paradox Grand Strategy games. The AI isn't trying to mimic like some historical context. The AI is trying to mimic a player, and other players, other human beings, will become less friendly and more aggressive to you the closer you are to winning the game. You'll see this in multiplayer games, and I think this will annoy people, and some people won't like it, but I think it is good for the design goal of the game. Multiplayer improves stability after receiving a multiplayer join error. Okay, that's good. Unnecessary host migration when exiting a LAN game. Okay, that's really nice because this was kind of annoying. A fix an occasional hang during wars in dynamic turn mode. This is also really good. Miscellaneous UI fixes and stability improvements. Great. Fixed an issue where plot tooltips would show when we didn't want them to. Okay, nice one. Fixed multiple issues with air combat. Air combat has always felt a bit weird in this game, so I'm hoping this with the updates above and here, particularly against the AI, this will be fixed. City banners were not reacting to population changed events. This is really nice too. Oftentimes when I was doing something in a city, it would, like for example, it would say like 9 turns to get a watermill, and then I would work a hill, and then that little number wouldn't change on the city banner, but then I would look down here where the city screen information is, and I would click on the city, and it would say 8 turns, but the thing up here would say 9. So hopefully this is a fix for that. The Barbarian camp art now update as the game progresses into later eras. I'm actually really excited to see this. It was kind of silly to see like a little wooden palisade wall around a thing in like the information era. It would be cool if it was like tunnels and stuff and all that kind of thing, and maybe like a dilapidated apartment building. Fixed an issue where pillaged improvements lost their Pantheon bonuses forever. Oh, I didn't even know this was a thing. Jesus, that sounds like a really annoying bug. District repair costs now computed properly based on both the game speed and start era will always be 25% of the cost creating a new district of that type. Holy tank, but Jesus bollocking Christ, thank God that's fixed. I have lost count of the amount of fucking times that I've went to repair district because some fucking AI horseman ran into my territory and pillaged my campus because I was busy with a war or something, and it took me 40 turns to repair it. So hopefully this will fix that. This has been honestly one of my biggest annoyances in the game. So this being fixed, I'm super happy with it. Corrected Alexander's to the world's end healing ability, so it only triggers if the city has a completed wonder in it. Oh, I didn't even know about this bug, but that's because you imagine if you had like placed down a wonder in one of your cities and then decided not to build it the same turn, and then Alexander conquers that city, and just all of his units get healed. Interesting. Wonders should always be repairable after they hit by a nuclear blast. I've never actually, gonna make an admission here, I've never used nukes. I've never had used nukes against me. I always win way before they become relevant, or lose way before they become relevant. So honestly, I've never seen nukes utilized, so I didn't even know this was a thing. Fixed issues with report screens not adding correctly. Okay, that's good. And additional bug fixes. Wow, Firaxis, wouldn't it be nice to tell us what those are? And something a lot of people noticed actually in the video for the Nubian Civ Spotlight is the new visuals for Desert Mountains. I'm actually super nice. They look kind of not flatter, but they look kind of like smoother, like ice cream mountains or something. It's really nice. They look really great, I think. Overall, kind of zooming back out to normal size here. Overall, looking at these patch notes again, this really reinforces the idea to me that they want Civilization 6 to be the best civilization. They're really putting their hearts and their backs into it, and I think they're getting closer to that goal, and I think they're working towards that goal. And the fact that I can figure that out from what they're doing is good, because a lot of the times when developers are updating games, sometimes you feel like what the hell are they doing here? Did they even play their game? But this definitely, these sort of changes, they tell me A, that they play the game at least somewhat, B, that they're listening to the community, because some of these ideas have been mentioned by players. For example, the aqueduct and sewers being expensive, and the repair costs and bugs and stuff like that. So a lot of this stuff tells me that they are really, really trying to make a good game. And I think I really do think the game is getting better every patch. And every time a patch drops, I'm like, okay, what goodies did we get this time? Overall, I think this is a great patch. I don't think there's anything really in here that I don't like. Again, it's just one of these patches where I feel like it objectively improves the game. I feel like the game is now better. Sometimes when a developer releases a patch for a game, you can kind of say, you just ruined the game. The game is over. You just screwed it up. You changed this thing here that was integral to the core experience, and you just ruined the game by doing that. But none of that is here. All of these things seems like improvements. All of these things, you could argue about a couple of them, like the battering ram and siege tower thing. You could argue about that, but I think that feels like an improvement to the game. It feels like the game now makes more sense. The game is more consistent. The game has now more strategies and more things that you can do with it. More things are viable. That's just how I feel about this patch. I think it's a good thing. I think this is a great patch, and I'm excited to play it. So that's pretty much my analysis of the summer 2017 patch. Do I have the gall to call it analysis? It's more like a first impression / analysis. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment, and all that YouTube jazz that we usually do at the end of videos. Look, I always feel dirty doing that, but you gotta do it. I love you all very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.